Well, I think I'm ready. I got plenty of time.
Give me more darkness, said the blind man. Give me more folly, said the fool. Give me stone silence, said the deaf man. I didn't believe Sunday school.
Okay, you're listening to the Rational Man Show. I'm the Rational Man on our Sunday school edition of the program. I'm thanking everybody that's joining me this evening on YouTube. If you're on YouTube listening, I see some of the people are on YouTube. Uh, Go ahead and like us on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Rational Man Show. And also, you can listen to us on the group called The Rational Man Show. It's the Facebook group called The Rational Man Show. Tune in to The Rational Man Show on Facebook. And that way, because I'm having a hard time of streaming off of my Facebook Rational Man Ricky Facebook page. So I'm just going to stop trying to do that because Facebook has it to where you can't stream to the public off of your personal Facebook page. So I think I'm just going to start going and hitting it from the Rational Man Ricky show, Facebook page show. Anyway, what I want to discuss this evening is a statement that I posted on my Facebook page saying that Donald Trump is probably the best president that Black America has had ever. And I got a lot of feedback and a lot of pushback on that. And I literally was waiting for somebody to say, "Hey, what do you mean by that? What do you mean he's the best president that we have had?" Well, that's what this particular program tonight is all about. I want to go into that. Give me just a second. Let me get over here to this particular one. Yeah, this will be better. I want to get into that this evening. That's exactly what I want to talk about this evening. Why I would say that something like that. And let me start off by saying that if you have a problem that needs to be solved, you can have a problem, but because you don't know what the problem is, you don't know what the solution is, because the problem has the same nature, or the solution has the same nature as the problem. But if you misdiagnose or misunderstand what the problem is, then what will happen is you will not see the solution, even though the solution is there. You won't know what the solution is. You won't recognize the solution. So the first thing you have to do is understand what the problem is. Now, our ancestors, they wanted freedom. They wanted freedom from oppression, and freedom to live life as part of the human family, as part of the vital part of the human family. And but somehow this got changed to something else. Somehow that whole push for freedom got changed to something else. And what the something else that it got changed to had the effect of blinding us to what our ancestors wanted and what they wanted to pass down to us. We got kind of thrown off the course. And so it's possible that we do not know what the problem is. Let me give you a little understanding by reading out of the Course in Miracles of what I'm saying when I tell you that the problem and the solution both are in the same place. In the 79th lesson of A Course in Miracles, the lesson is, it says, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. A problem cannot be solved if you don't know what it is. Even if it's really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world and, by the way, of us as a group. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see the relevance. He cannot see the relevance of the answer. That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seem to confront you, and one is settled. As soon as one is settled, the next one arises. There seems to be no end to them. There's no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. This perception places you in a position in which your problem solving must be inadequate, and failure is inevitable. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels and in such varying forms and with such varied content that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, some problems that is, just as you think you have resolved the previous one. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unsolved. All this complexity is nothing but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem and therefore not to let it be solved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. And so that's coming out of A Course in Miracles. That's coming out of A Course in Miracles. And it's talking about, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. So I want to say, brothers, that we have forgotten our history and have now become free slaves. Now, I'm talking about why Donald Trump is the best president that Black America has ever seen, the best president for Black America. We have forgotten our history. In reality, we can state facts and figures of history, but in reality, we have forgotten our history. And we have now become what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the book, the messenger to the Muslims, or actually to Black America, but he was Muslim. He called us free slaves. We are now free slaves. And then he coined this phrase, free slaves. And he told our grandparents that the plants, I grew up in Detroit, and Detroit put the world on wheels. And he came to Detroit and he told our grandparents that the plants would close and that their children would be at the gate of society begging for food stamps, welfare, Section 8, and jobs. Now, of course, he did not know about food stamps and Section 8, but the point remained that he said that our grandparents' children, meaning us, my generation, would be standing at the door of society begging for food and jobs. He told our grandparents this, and our grandparents did not listen. I remember when I was a boy growing up in Detroit, there was this, we would from time to time go over my grandparents' house on the other side of town, and there was these neighbors, they were Muslims that lived next door to them. And they had sons named Eric and Kevin, and Eric and Kevin used to tell us about, Islam. It didn't matter to us. We had no concept of religion at that particular time, but I had often overheard my grandfather say, leave those Muslims alone. So our grandparents rejected the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the plan he had for complete freedom to be ourselves. They rejected. And the reason that they rejected Elijah Muhammad and what he taught is primarily due to the preachers of that day. For example, Elijah Muhammad taught that, you eat to live. He wrote a book on how to eat to live and said that there's certain things and a certain diet that we had as Black people was from slavery and was shortening our lifespan. And so he wrote 2 books on how to eat to live. Meanwhile, the people would go to the church and the preacher would tell them, you can eat anything you want. You can't, because the Bible says you can eat anything you want. This is what they told the people. In the meantime, obesity, high blood pressure, stroke, cancer, all the ailments, diabetes coming on and ravaging our ancestors or our grandparents' generation from that day to this, to the point that our women are termed the most overweight population in the world. And this is all because our parents or our grandparents did not listen, did not pay attention. Booker T. Washington, in his book, Up From Slavery, and you need to read some of these books and some of this material that I'm referencing. So write it down. Don't just let me say it. Write it down and go back, and so you can see what I'm talking about. Booker T. Washington, in his book, Up From Slavery, and he was trying to get our great-grandparents to work the land and to build on the land and start from there. And many times we did. But most of the situation was because, again, of the Christian preachers who were the tools of the slave master, and their doctrine perpetually pushed this idea of having heaven after you die, even though everybody else had heaven right here on earth. And so as a result, we left the land. We left industry even though we had all the tools because of slavery. We knew how to do things. We had the tools in our hands to do things. And so Booker T. Washington tried to get us to start from that point and build, rather than learning Greek and Hebrew and all the classics of Europeans. And so we did not listen. We did not pay attention. Dr. Carter G. Woodson came a little later in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. And he specifically tuned in to our education and warned us that our education was actually undermining our development. And he talked about Dr. Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Get that book and read it. He said that our education would turn out to be nothing more than an education that was designed to cause us to have to go back to another man to ask for jobs and help. And that the education was a miseducation, not an education that you can use. And so as a result, our education is indeed designed to where we can't go out for the most part and start businesses. One of the reasons is the banks they have a policy. They will finance a church in the black community in the hood, in dilapidation, in the middle of dilapidation, but they will not finance a business. Why is that? Why is it that you can get financing, Reverend, for a multi-million-dollar church building in the heart of dilapidation, drugs, alcohol, and crime, but cannot get a business loan? Yet you still put your money into the very banks that go and invest in other communities off the hard-earned money of your people. And they don't invest any money in your community. Why will not banks invest in the black community? When at one time we had banks and we were able to build for ourselves without that problem. You can build a multi-million-dollar church. They'll gladly loan you the money. But go ask for a business loan for a store, grocery store, and you will soon discover that there's no money for that. Why is that? These are questions that have to be put on the table. And so Carter G. Woodson told us that the education was designed to give us the illusion of the existence of a back door that we could go into and get into white society and function as equals. And he said that in the end, as it was in the beginning, you will discover that there is no back door. You would discover that there will be no back door, that the whole idea of back door and affirmative action, these are all back doors, and DEI and all those programs, you would discover that there is no back door. You would discover in the end that there was not a back door. And so guidance has come to us as it has to all people. The God, the big God, does not leave a people ignorant. Guidance comes to every human being, and the guidance that comes to every group and human being is designed for that specific group of people. The guidance comes with that people's circumstances in mind. He's not going to send somebody from somewhere else to teach you about you and how to get to God. He's going to raise up from among you minds, and those that he put guidance in their mouth to help you to understand the direction that you ought to consider going. In the Bible, it says when Jesus was born, it says that he came to his people to save them from their sin. He even said, don't go the way of the Gentiles, but go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So it shows you that prophets and messengers and guides are raised up from among you for you. But if you do not listen, then the path that you may find yourself on, I feel for you. Because nature does not bend to luck and hope. It bends to rules and laws. So some of the guidance that came to us through the years have been of the following. It was Marcus Garvey, who came to our great-grandparents, and Marcus Garvey was a Christian. If you read the opinions and the philosophies of Marcus Garvey, you will see that Marcus Garvey espoused Christianity, the Trinity, in fact. And he came and built a huge movement. And he said, up, you mighty people, you can accomplish what you will. And so our great-grandparents, because they were Christianized, and they were Christianized in a certain direction, even though he built a huge movement and the government participated in undermining his movement with the assistance of those among him, Marcus Garvey's movement did not continue. But it didn't continue because the people could not come to terms with the fact that a black man from among black men had the message in his mouth. And so our great-grandparents forsook that idea of being able to do for self, and they went another direction. Then came Elijah Muhammad in the 30s, speaking to our grandparents. And he was a Muslim. And he came, and his mantra was, brothers and sisters, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own and be yourself. But as I mentioned to you, our grandparents ignored him, shunned him, because he was writing books and he was talking about white folks and how they mistreated us, and at the same time presented a way out of it, having to do with working together, having to do with your diet, having to do with your name, having to do with things that would bring us out of the mentality of slavery. This Muslim man who said he met with God built a huge movement of thousands. And you saw businesses spring up all across America at the leadership of a man who did not even pass the 4th grade. So guidance has always come, and guidance comes from among you. Guidance comes, a woman or women give birth to men and women who have the mind and are able to articulate the thing and the direction that needs to be gone in for the salvation of a people when the danger is right at the door. And then our generation came the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And Minister Farrakhan was a Christian and a Muslim together. See, if you don't see it, you won't see it. He's a Christian and a Muslim, talking about religion. And he came to our generation and he spoke to our generation, and he was the mind that brought about the Million Man March and produced men like myself. And I'm not saying that I've been perfect, but I hold fast to that pledge I took on October 16th, 1995. And so Minister Farrakhan has come to our generation. And for 40 or 60 years, Minister Farrakhan has been speaking to us, and we have not moved a muscle. And now Minister Farrakhan has said that he is no longer talking. God told him to be quiet, and that after the quiet then comes the chastisement. And that, my brothers and sisters, are where we are now. And so our condition, in light of the fact that the Spirit or the God sends teachers to us, let me show you what Jesus said in the Bible. Go or write down Matthew chapter 11, verses 13 through 19, I'm going to read. So let me give you an understanding of the condition that we are in light of the fact that so many have come to us and so many have tried to point us in the right direction. Jesus said in Matthew 11, verses 13 through 19, for all the prophets and the law prophesied unto John. Well, let me read from verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. So the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and there are the violent that take the kingdom of heaven by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you will receive it, this is Elias, which was to come. He that has an ear, let him hear. Now, Jesus is telling you about reincarnation, because they were saying that Elijah had to come before the Messiah. And so Jesus had to speak on a deep level, and he said, if you can hear this, Elijah has already come. And he was talking about John the Baptist. He said John the Baptist was coming in the same spirit as Elijah to the people who believe Elijah had to come first. John the Baptist was Elijah reincarnated. He was the spirit of Elijah coming to them. And so Jesus said, if you can hear this, I'm going to tell you. And he said, he that has an ear, let him hear. But now he asks a question. But what shall I liken this generation? How should I characterize this generation that I'm talking to? This is the question Jesus asked. He said, it is like unto the it's like children sitting in the markets and calling unto their fellows. The generation is like children. The children are sitting into their markets and calling unto their fellows and saying, we have piped unto you, and you have not danced. We have mourned unto you, and you have not lamented. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a devil. I come eating and drinking, and you say, behold, a man gluttonous, a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children. Now, there's a lot of meat in that. He says wisdom is justified of her children. So just as in Jesus' day, he was talking about prophets and teachers and guides coming to them, and they would not move no matter what these prophets and teachers said. He said they're like that. Because, and then we are like that. You are like that, because I've already outlined Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, Booker T. Washington. All these people came to us trying to get us to move. Farrakhan trying to get us to move. And so he's saying, we have piped and you have not danced. We have mourned and you have not lamented. John the Baptist came not eating and drinking. In other words, some of them came and they was not eating and drinking, and others came and you called them, you say he had a devil. And that's what you say. That's what you said about Elijah. That's what you say about Farrakhan. And this one comes and he eating and drinking, because Jesus was eating and drinking. And they said, look at him. He's not qualified because he's eating and drinking, and he's a friend of sinners and he's a friend of publicans. And Jesus said, but wisdom is justified of her children. Wisdom is justified of her children. What is he saying? What you produce justifies or condemns what you're thinking. Wisdom is a feminine term. It carries feminine energy. The female has wisdom. The male has knowledge. Jesus says wisdom is justified of her children. You see? And so all you have to do is look at the children. And children is not only representative of people that, biological children, but children represents all of your creations, all of the things that you produce. It could be anything. It's a child of yours. And so he says, children justifies the thinking of the parent. Wisdom is understood by what it produced. Now, we have had, and we still do, black mayors, black city councilmen, black school board, black administrators, black spiritual leaders with churches on every corner in our community and everywhere. Black sports, black millionaires, black educators, and black women boast that they are the most educated species in the country. But what is being produced with all this? Even had a black president. And if you count Bill Clinton, or say if you count Barack, you had 2 black presidents. Wisdom is justified by her children. What you produce from those things tell the world and tell you what your thinking is. And in all of our black this and black that, black congressmen, black senators, black this and black that, what is the condition of the people in light of all that blackness everywhere? We got the Pan-Africans and the black this and the black that. But look at the condition of the people and answer the question. What are we producing? Our women are naked and not ashamed. and getting pregnant by the same small population of men and producing baby mamas and baby daddies. And just like Adam and Eve in that garden, we in this garden are naked and not ashamed, as though we should have been ashamed. And the men are shaking in their boots and won't get with anything that's worth getting with. We're naked and not ashamed. Wisdom is justified by her children. And our young people are slaughtering each other at a pace to where the president now has to send in troops. I'll come back to that. We have had the prophets. We have had the teachers come to us. Wisdom is justified by her children. What are we producing? So in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, this is an allegory. And matter of fact, all these are allegories. An allegory is a story being told. The story is not necessarily true, but it's being told so you can get the message, the hidden message out of it. That's an allegory. So all of this stuff about Jesus and all that, those are all allegories. They were allegories to help you to understand certain principles. So in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, the prophet came and he said, Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 1. This prophet came to these people. And let me read it so you can see this. The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and look, they were all very dry. He's in this valley, and all these bones are in there, and these bones are dry. And the Lord said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord, you know. Again he said unto me, prophesy to the bones, and say to them, O you dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. See, they were dead. And he's telling them to speak to these bones and say to these bones, you shall live. And I will lay sinews or joints upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I looked, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. He spoke to them, but there was no breath in them. They shook a little bit, and they got together, but they were unable to do anything because there was no life in them. They shook and shimmied a little bit, but because there was no life in them, they could not accomplish a thing. And so verse 8, he says, or verse 9, he says, then said he to me, prophesy to the wind, Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord, come forth, come from the four winds, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and they stood up upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dry. This is what we're saying. Our bones are dry, and our hope is lost, and we are cut off from our parts. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the Lord says. Behold, my people, I will open your graves, because you're dead, and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And you will know that I am the Lord. I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord. I read all that to you because I wanted you to hear something in there. He first told him to speak to the people, or the bones themselves. And as I said, they shaked and they shimmied a little bit, but they did not move. They did not get up and do anything because they still had no life. Then he said, all right, since that didn't work, I need to tell you to do something else. So he told the prophet to now speak to the wind. And when the wind of adversity come from all sides, that's what is analogous of the winds of adversity coming from all sides. He said the four winds coming from all sides. You are going to stand up and you are going to live. But the winds of adversity got to come upon you. Because we have piped and you have not danced. We have mourned and you have not lamented. You are like the children that won't get up and move. So now the prophets are speaking to the four winds, and they're coming down on you to give you life. They are the winds of adversity, because your children are slaughtering each other, and you are slaughtering each other. And you're angry because your politicians won't tell you the truth. They tell you that this man, Donald Trump, who's watching this bloodshed, and whatever his reasons are hidden under sending in troops into your communities, the fact remains that you are out of control. You are out of control, and you got to be stopped. And your politicians, your Democrat politicians, would rather see you die than to tell you the truth that you need some real help. They rather lie to you. They rather tell you, never mind the man behind the curtain. Never mind that your babies are killing each other. Never mind that you can't build anything. Never mind that you can't do anything. Don't worry about that. Donald Trump is a bad man. But they are the ones that's been over us for the last 60 or 75 years. They're the ones been in our communities. Our communities have dilapidated and collapsed up under their watch, up under the preachers' churches, up under the politicians' speeches, up under all these people that's coming with these the super blacks, the Pan-Africans, the super blacks. They blacker than everybody put together. Nothing has worked. We've shaken a little bit. We've shimmied a little bit, but we haven't stood up. And so the winds are now blowing. And so this brings me to why Donald Trump is the best president for Black America. See, you don't know the problem, therefore you don't recognize the solution. Our grandparents prayed for freedom, prayed for an end of white supremacy, prayed to be left alone. They did not pray to become part of another man's sect, if you will. They prayed to be free to build their own sect. And so now, to help you to understand why I say what I say, I want you to turn your Bibles now to the book of Exodus. Turn to the book of Exodus, chapter 1. And we're going to get into this for the next few minutes. And it's just simple things. It's so simple. I can't believe that nobody else sees this. The book of Exodus, chapter 1, starting at verse 8. It says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Let me hit that for you real quick. This story is an allegory. It didn't happen in real life. It's an allegory, a prophecy of what would happen. And it's a story to help you, if you find yourself in this situation, how to use the principles to get out of the situation. There arose up in Egypt a Pharaoh who didn't know Joseph. Now, the story goes, if you doesn't know it, there was this man who had these children, and his brothers sold the youngest one into slavery in Egypt. So just imagine, Africans sold Africans to Africans. They sold their brother. It was Africans that sold our forefathers into slavery. It was Africans that helped capture our forefathers and send them into slavery. It was Africans that did that. Yes, the white man did it, but Africans, he could not have done it without the assistance of the native Africans. And they were making money off of doing this. So the story of Joseph was a story of brothers who sold their youngest brother into slavery. And the Egyptians in this story, they accepted Joseph, and Joseph became high up in the Egyptian government and high up in the Egyptian society. And time passed and Joseph died off. And then a king was elected who did not know or appreciate the story of how Joseph and his family got to Egypt. He did not know. He did not appreciate this. And so this particular king was more cunning. He said, well, wait a minute. These people are growing. There are more of us and mightier than us. He saw it. And so let me read it so you can hear it. It says, now there rose up a king over Egypt which knew not Joseph, and he said unto his people. The king is talking to his people. He ain't talking to the slaves. He's not telling the slaves what I'm about to read. He's talking to his people. Hey, look at this. We got to do this. This is what he's saying to his people. Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal with them wisely, lest they multiply and it come to pass that when there falls out a war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. It's time to deport them. Deal with them. Let us deal with them wisely. It's time to destroy them. And see, why would he think that? See, why after hundreds of years would a king or a president rise up and say something like that? Well, he was doing the math. He was watching. And he said, we need to deal with them wisely because there are more of us. And if we deal with them too exposed, then we're going to have a civil war on our hands. But if we deal with them wisely, they won't know what we're doing to them. And so we got enemies, and the way we've treated them, if we get into a war with our enemies, they're going to fight against us because we've treated them so bad. Verse 11, therefore did they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built Pharaoh treasured cities. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. So even though the Pharaoh is pulling off this thing, afflicting them, they not knowing, the slaves don't know this is happening. See, they was walking around in this country, they doing business. See, they had integrated into the country. But so they don't know why, but they do notice that, damn, every time we turn around, there's just something going. We're not making any headway. And they can't figure out why it is that that's the case. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. The Egyptians were tired of them. It was they have a new term out right now called black. They tired of us. I forget the term. If you know the term, let me know. Where they just tired of us and our antics and our behavior. They're tired of us. And so what they did, it says, verse 13, the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. They made life hard for them. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar, brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. That means that everything they told you to do, it was tough to get it done. It just didn't come easy. Everything we even came up with sayings, you got to be twice as good to get half the benefits. So everything you do, how come your preacher ain't read this to you and told you that this was you? Maybe he don't belong to you. Maybe he belonged to somebody else that you know not of. Verse 15, and the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives. Now he's going after the women of the slaves. Now, how could he do that? How could he gather the women up of the slaves and tell them to do what I'm about to read to you? He spoke to the Hebrew midwives and said to them, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. He told them to start aborting their children. And at the same time, he's elevating the girls. But abort the boys, abort all of them. But if it be a boy, you want to kill him especially. And then we're going to save the girls. We're going to save them alive. And we're going to educate them. We're going to put our seed in them. And they, like Willie Lynch said, will do by nature. They will cause their daughters to serve the slave master, while their sons, they teach them to stand in the back, shaking in his boots. And I want you to know that it says, but the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. Let me tell you what that's really saying. Many of the midwives did it. Many of them aborted their children. Many of them killed their sons. Many of them denounced and put away their sons. But there was enough that didn't do it to where they had sons that had in them the mind of the Savior. And so it says that the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and they are delivered faster than we can kill them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. But the people did not know how mighty they were. They were mighty, but they didn't know how mighty they were because they were blinded. See, the taskmasters that Pharaoh set over the people selected certain of the people to be overseers. The overseers reported to the taskmaster, and the taskmaster reported to the Pharaoh. So your preachers and your governmental officials and all your Egyptian or political leaders are taskmasters, or overseers, I should say. They're overseers, and they report to the taskmasters, and the taskmasters report to the real power. They are not the power. They get to live in the house because they oversee the people and keep the people calm in spite of the hurt and harm and depression and violence among the people. And Pharaoh charged all his people. Verse 22. So now after Pharaoh saw that his tactic didn't work, by making their lives bitter, they still grew. By making their women murder their sons, they still grew. Oh yeah, it's a lot of y'all murdering your sons. A lot of y'all up in them churches aborting your children. Oh, we know it. We know it. You're aborting your babies out of the 20 million or 60 million of the children that have been aborted since 1973 Roe versus Wade, which Donald Trump overthrew, got put back. The majority of the abortions were black women. The overwhelming majority of aborted children were black women. And it was Donald Trump that said, no, we can't do this no more. Now, there may be other reasons why he's doing it, but it's working in your favor, and you don't see it. And so now the situation has got so desperate that he has to do some drastic things because we're out of control. We're out of control. And so he cut the food stamps to where you can't buy sweets and candy and cookies and potato chips and snack foods off the sweets or with the food stamps. But that's working in your favor because those are the things that's causing your diabetes, that's causing your bad health, that's causing your overweight, that's causing your sickness and illness and depression and sugar addictions. It's working in your favor. See, the problem can be solved, but because you don't know what the problem is, you can't recognize the solution that you prayed for. So your food stamps are being cut off. And now you got to work for jobs that doesn't exist, but because you don't have an education that will cause you to be able to create a job for yourself, you now have to resort to begging somebody that don't like you. Your Section 8 is cut back. So now you can't live high on the hog and living your best life paying $30 a month for rent. Now you got to start wondering, how am I going to survive and have a place to live, lay my head? And this is due to separation, because you've been separated from your man. You've been separated from your woman, and you have made a deal with the devil, and now the devil is calling in for collection. It's time to collect on the debt. So your Section 8 is cut. 318,000 black women were laid off by the federal government. 318,000 black women. Of the ones that were laid off, 318,000 of them were black women with sociology degrees and psychology degrees. You can't go nowhere and do nothing with that. So now the problem of separation is now taking on a whole new meaning, because we haven't made connections. You were separated from your man. You were cleverly separated, and you puffed your chest up. Yeah, I'm talking to the ladies, because he was slaughtering us and saving you alive. But instead of you being wise, like Eve, and bite from the forbidden fruit and get wisdom, you puffed your chest up. And so he's going after them judges now, and them prosecutors, them black women prosecutors that the Democrat put up to persecute that man, and you were going to be the one that's going to take the heat for it. And he's coming after you now. Meantime, your man don't like you. Your man don't like you. Your children don't like you. You set the environment. You we protect it. You set it by the ones you give birth to. And you give birth to the mind that you sleep with. You set the environment. We protect it. So you have created an environment at the behest of your Pharaoh, and we are violent, and we killing, and we slaughtering, and we maiming, and we wreaking havoc everywhere. You set that up, ladies. And your sons are protecting it by inflicting violence on you. You're abandoning your children for happiness that Pharaoh can bring. And the black Democrat leaders will not tell you the truth. They won't tell you the truth. They got you hating this man that they loved prior to this. They loved Donald Trump. If you grew up in the 80s, you would know that Donald Trump was the Donald. He was not a guy that everybody hated. He was still doing his thing, but they loved him. Al Sharpton loved Donald Trump. All these Democrats loved Donald Trump. That whole Epstein file, you will find out just how many of them are in there. But all of a sudden now, because he won't put up a multicolored gay flag on the White House, and he's a criminal just like them, they don't like him now. But it appears that everything he's doing is to help us, even if it is in his mind to hurt us. And so the same goes, the devil meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. And so you're violent in Chicago. You're violent in Detroit. You're violent in DC. You're violent in LA. Everywhere we are in mass, we are slaughtering each other. A white man don't need to do nothing. We're slaughtering and tricking and unrepentant about it. Double dealing and unrepentant about it. And so the winds of adversity now have to blow. And they're coming at us from all sides. And it was several years ago that Minister Farrakhan said to us that if we did not stop this madness, they were going to send the troops in. And when they send the troops in, they're not coming to talk. They're coming to slaughter you. And we averted it in 1995 with the Million Man March under your black president, what's his name? Hillary's husband, Clinton. We averted it. But since then, we've produced children that are totally out of control. And don't talk no more to me about no white man, black woman. Don't tell me nothing about no white man or no white woman. When you wear her hair, when you got these things on your eyes, when you disfiguring your body, when you the BBLs and all this stuff, you are not God's woman. You are his woman. He made you, and you keep producing him. And nobody's going to tell you this so that it will be brought to the conscious. Minister Farrakhan said that when they send the troops in, they're not coming to talk. They're coming to kill you. And Democrats would rather see you die than to tell you the truth about your savage behavior of your children. And we can talk about what they did. They totally annihilated my generation. In the 80s, that was the crack generation. Crack was unleashed by Ollie North and Ronald Reagan into the black communities. And they destroyed our communities and annihilated my generation. And there's only a few of us that have survived the crack generation. But that should tell you what the time is and what must be done. It should not say, you should not be talking about they didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. They meant it. And so Donald Trump is going to turn out to be the best president for the black man and woman because he's bringing on the four winds. And it is when the four winds came that the people stood up like a mighty army. And they began to work together. They began to repent for the evil that they have done to each other. They began to recognize their brothers and sisters in each other and thereby recognize their brothers and sisters around the world. And it will be amazed that you will find out how persecution and disrespect goes away when you do that. You'll be amazed. You don't see yourself as brother and sister. Why should anybody else see you? So what's the first step that we need to do? There are many tools out there. But what if we took a small step? A very small step. I would like to introduce you to the way to happiness. It's 21 precepts, simple precepts that help us to get back on track. It's non-religious and it's 21 common sense guide to better living. I'll send it to you if you just ask for it at therationalmanshow@gmail.com. The Rational Man Show at gmail.com, or you can actually order it offline and you don't have to give anybody your address but the publishers so that they can send it to you. Let me play something for you and then I'll be out of here. I want to play this for you and then I'll be out of here. Give me just a second here. This is on we need something that will bring to our mind a way out of this mess that we're in. So let me see if I can do this. Yes. Yeah. Let's see.
Happiness. True joy and happiness are valuable. If one does not survive, no joy and no happiness are obtainable. Trying to survive in a chaotic, dishonest, and generally immoral society is difficult. Any individual or group seeks to obtain from life what pleasure and freedom from pain that they can. Your own survival can be threatened by the bad actions of others around you. Your own happiness can be turned to tragedy and sorrow by the dishonesty and misconduct of others. I am sure you can think of instances of this actually happening. Such wrongs reduce one's survival and impair one's happiness. You are important to other people. You are listened to. You can influence others. The happiness or unhappiness of others you could name is important to you. Without too much trouble using this book, you can help them survive and lead happier lives. While no one can guarantee that anyone else can be happy, their chances of survival and happiness can be improved. And with theirs, yours will be. It is in your power to point the way to a less dangerous and happier life.
Okay, that was, you could actually go to the waytohappiness.org and order the book itself, or I will send it to you if you go to the Rational Man Show at gmail.com, the Rational Man Show at gmail.com. Let me just read a couple of the things out of here and I'll let you go. The 21st principle or precept is flourish and prosper. And it just gives you pointers on how to flourish and prosper. The first precept says, take care of yourself. And it's just a reminder of what you need to do to take care of yourself. Be temperate. Don't take harmful drugs. Don't be promiscuous. Love and help children. There are 21 of these. Honor and help your parents. Set a good example. Seek to live with the truth. Do not murder. Don't do anything illegal. The way to happiness is a non-religious way to get us on the page to treating each other better. And if you remember, if you've listened to me before, I told you that one of the first things that Moses had to do before they were able to be free is to get them to working together. That was the first thing he had to do. They were still in slavery when he did that. So the way to happiness is, it really is powerful, but it will help us to get on the same page. And we need some help, brothers and sisters, because we are in a mess. And there's just no other way to put it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this evening's program, and I'm going to let you go from here. Meet with me Wednesday. I'm going to talk about the Adam and Eve story. You've never heard Adam and Eve like I'm going to share this with you. And so read the first, second, and third chapter of Genesis about that Garden of Eden story, the creation in the Garden of Eden story, chapters 1, 2, and 3. And then join me at Wednesday at 7 p.m. Okay, I'm the Rational Man, and I am out of here for this Sunday. And have a wonderful holiday.